Welcome to Brothers-In-Flaw Sports. I'm your host, Normie, and we have our two other hosts, Cunyado, and down below, where he's best, Santana. So how you doing, Cunyado?
I'm doing all right, man. How about you?
Doing pretty good. A little tired, back from my business trip, but yeah, doing pretty good. What about you, Santana?
I'm good, dude. Glad to have you back. I think that the show missed you pretty hard last week.
I think that the viewers would agree, or the viewer right now. But
Who?
yeah,
Who are you talking about?
the show works best with Normie at the helm.
Oh, y'all weren't bad. It was actually pretty fun, and it was fun seeing it from the other side of doing the comments and everything. But once you get what I think it was good for y'all to get some good experience, without me. So especially with the comments and knowing you gotta get your right times to read your comments, not both of you at once.
we made it work as best as we could, but we missed the captain.
I hear
But
you.
you know, with practice, perhaps we could become 50% as good. That's my ceiling on how good we can become without you. But it's good to have you back.
We need leash holders. We need
There we go. Yeah, some Wranglers.
we need the guards that come up when you're bowling, like the bumper guards.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly right. We need the bumper guards.
I think we could just change my name to Bumper or just BG. Well, anyway, there was been a lot of NFL news. I mean, we had the combine. There's a ton of free agent stuff that we probably won't even get to the iceberg of, or the tip of the iceberg of. So, y'all want to start with the combine?
Yeah, that's fine with me. I biggest takeaway is that why is everybody so fast now? Like, what happened? And also, we had a record breaker, and probably the biggest thing that people pay attention to is the
Yeah.
40 time. And Xavier Worthy broke John Ross's record. Now the question is he just a John Ross, or like just one of those speed guys who, yeah, you can run fast, but like you can't play? I think
Yeah.
no, because I've heard his name at Texas and how dynamic he is for forever. I was actually talking with Santana about this today because he's also a smaller guy. I think he weighed in at like 165. It could be the next Tutu Atwell, which is not in the John Ross vein, not injury plagued, but like hasn't. He started to make an impact this year and a little bit last year with the Rams, but I mean, I think he's got a lot of promise. I think he's a little bit more of a playmaker, and I don't think he's the next Tyreek Hill, because Tyreek Hill is pretty phenomenal at his job, at least. But but I think Xavier Worthy is a little bit different than some of the other just pure speedsters that have come through. I didn't expect him to run like that. I knew he was explosive. I didn't know he was that, but I'm excited to see where he goes. I would be psyched if he landed in LA Rams.
It could be a Charger. I could see him being a Charger.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be psyched about that at all.
The stadium has been needing some explosiveness, right? Like, didn't you say that you've been missing some? Anyway,
I can remove you, right?
You're not in control this week. Xavier Worthy was the focal point at Texas for a lot of his time there, as far as the offense goes. As far as his, obviously, its availability. That was a big issue with John Ross, was his inability to stay on the field. So if he can stay healthy, he has a lot better shot than Ross did, for sure. But as with all prospects, it becomes about what what's the best fit? Where does he go? What is he expected?
Mm-hmm.
You look at the Devontae Smiths, talking about just light receivers, like slim built receivers, and what you're able to do with somebody like that. Like clearly, you don't want to. He wouldn't be the X guy lined up on the line of scrimmage. He would be your motion guy, the guy you try and move around a lot. And watch what Los Angeles does with Tutu Atwell. Watch what Tyreek Hill's done his entire career. Like he's rarely standing still before the snap.
Mm-hmm.
He'll end up, if he ends up in an offense that will utilize him correctly, then because I'm with Kenyatta that he's not just a speed guy. He was a guy that did a lot of things for Texas, and even before they really got going on offense, when Sark got there, like he was still like that. You knew Xavier Worthy's name long before. I mean, since true freshman year, I believe. It seems like he's been around a long time. So no, I think as long as he goes to a beneficial fit, I think that he'll be fine, and you'll get to really see speed like that. Because if that speed does translate, I mean, just again, Kenyatta brought up Tyreek Hill about comparisons. I don't know that anybody can be that guy, but he could probably be something pretty close. Somebody like a Jalen Waddle, like just somebody who that likes speed. Of course, both of those dudes are also pretty physical too. So I don't know what 165 will get him, but again, keep him off the line, keep him in motion, keep hands off of him. You can do a lot of things with him.
Yeah, that seems like one thing that the NFL struggles more with than college does is with these type of guys and fitting them in their offense. It seems like a lot of times they want to just force them into it instead of just kind of building plays around them. So I hope it works out for him too. But that was pretty phenomenal. Wasn't it on his second one that
I
he
believe
got?
so.
Because he ran the first one and they were like, dude, stop. You're done. You're good. You're good. He said, no, I want to do this again. And that's when he ran that one.
When in the projected time, or like the unofficial time,
it was one of the first times I've ever seen the unofficial be higher than the actual
slower.
time.
It was
Yeah,
slower.
I think it was a 4.23 or 4.2 something. It was. I was like, oh, so it probably won't break the record or whatever.
And then like
then
his celebration.
Yeah.
He was psyched. He was just like yes. I mean, because obviously John Ross didn't do it that long ago, but I mean that's a hell of a record. And we're not talking about hand timers. Obviously, there are people, Bo Jackson, Deion Sanders, a litany of others before the laser timers became the standard, who might be able to run stuff like that. I don't know. We'll never know. But this is as official as we can get right now, and we've never seen that before. That's the record. And how long will it stand? I don't know. The big guys were really fast.
The big guys, specifically the defensive linemen, were moving really well. But it's going to be a hard record to break. I mean, I think that you're going to start seeing. We've seen kind of this. Norm, if you want to pull back that, just the list right there. Like this is kind of this type of stuff that we're used to seeing over the past, I don't know, 10 years. Like it just seems like you said it at the beginning. Like how are people so fast these days? I mean, some of these are even kind of slower from what we're used to seeing, really, which is just insane because of how insanely fast those times are. So I don't think that we're going to see sub 4.21 or numbers start hanging around right there. No, but I mean, I said when I found out that where they broke it, I was like, it really didn't shock me that he ran 4 sub 3, but I would have thought somewhere like a 4.28, somewhere that's like, just barely cracking 4.3. To push it all the way down to 4.21 is nuts. And so how long will it stand? I don't know. But I do think that we'll see something around the like second, third, fourth guy right there, like constantly.
I mean, 0.2 of a second from
people are eating their vegetables, man.
Our first sub 3, and like with the way that the speed just seems to keep getting greater and greater, we might see a sub 3 or a sub 4, like a 3 something in our lifetimes, and that's just insane. And just like it comes with training, because obviously not only do they train for the actual on-field job, even in high school when I was playing football, and I didn't play all that long, like there were certain days and drills like this is how you run the 40, like this is your get off, and like like there's a science to it. Like,
But
do I think that Xavier Worthy could beat Usain Bolt in his prime? No, because that's all that man did. But they are honing in on how to make you more draft worthy, and then these guys who are talented are going to the people who can make you more draft worthy. And I think that Xavier Worthy, I think he's already Santana. Correct me if I'm wrong. Like a mid second, mid third round pick.
I'd seen some people with him rated as high as the 30-ish pick. I don't, but I've also, like I was saying this before too, that I'd seen mock drafts with like 16 receivers going in the first round, like ridiculous numbers. I mean, not really 16, but like 9 in the first round. So it's a deep receiver class, and I think that because of that, you could see Xavier Worthy push to. Now with the 40 time, I would say he would probably fit somewhere in that 30-second range. I said earlier that if he's on the board when Kansas City picks, he's 100% going to be a Chief. Like that, I just can't.
My God.
That particular player falling into their lap with the need at receiver that they have right now, just can't imagine. Now, I mean, it depends on who else is on the board. Some of these other great receivers could have bumped down too, but I feel like, I mean, you're going to have Marvin Harrison Jr. go off the board, Odunze and Malik Neighbors. Right. You're going to have all three of them go off pretty early. And then after that, it just, I mean, and like high first rounders, top 10, 15 guys. And then after that, it just becomes where you have the value at these other guys. And for somebody like Worthy with what the Chiefs have done with, I mean, that's kind of softball to think about, but I just can't imagine having this level of player with this level of speed, fall into your lap at 32, because you probably don't get another chance at that. Like if he makes it past Kansas City, like he'll be off the board pretty quickly, or round 2 for sure.
Yeah, Cunata, you were talking about the science of this. So I actually got a story. My high school football coach was a 3rd-round draft pick, defensive lineman, and before he went to the NFL draft, he actually paid someone to teach him how to run the 40. And this is mid-late 90s. And he paid this guy $30,000 just to teach him how to start the 40. I can't imagine what it is now. But because he taught us what he learned for when we were doing our 40s time in high school. But yeah, like the science behind it. And that was, like I said, the mid to late 90s. I can't imagine what it is now. And obviously we're seeing the results of it.
There are people out here who have never played a snap teaching or never played a meaningful snap, teaching all sorts of people how to do this, that, and the other, and making a lot of good money on it. Mm-hmm. And then there's and not to take away from the people who are doing a good job at it. Like there are people who out, like that guy who I'm sure he went to somebody extremely professional. They're out there. It's a profession to be a coach outside of like an organized team situation, and a lucrative one.
So, but
sitting on that lane.
But yeah, Xavier Worthy at Kansas City, and talk about a coach that will draw up plays just for him.
Oh, absolutely.
And not try and just, grind him into a position that he's not really built for. So yeah, I could see that getting pretty dangerous.
He would slot into that role where he just runs back and forth across the line of scrimmage before the snap, and then nobody would ever be able to get a hand on him. Yeah, Andy Reid would be the perfect. Again, going back to fit, I mean, there's a bunch of good offensive guys out there right now that would find a good place for him. But I mean, just talk about he could, go to the Panthers right now. Who knows what he becomes? Goes to the Chiefs right now, and he's a number 1 receiver for the next few years. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
As far as fit goes,
like if he sneaks his way, or sneaks his way, if he falls all the way back to 32, and Andy Reid gets his hands on him, and crafts his offense. And I actually think Mike McDaniels down in Miami has done a really good job. Like he can frolic with Tyreek Hill, just based on his ball skills and what he did at Texas. I mean, he could replace that. But once again, I'm not trying to knock Tyreek Hill because he's unique. We haven't seen anything really like that. A small bodied receiver who can run like that, but then also go up and do 50-50 balls in that way. And I haven't watched enough Texas football to know if Xavier Worthy can do that, but I'm here for it if they do it. I don't think after that he'll make it there. But if I was the Chiefs, it's almost worth trading up for it. Might be a gooey situation though.
What's going to come down to is just how the receiver run happens early in the first round. So more than likely Arizona takes Marvin Harrison Jr. That's the big mock right now for that at the number 4 slot. And then so the other two big names, Malik Neighbors and Odunze, will go off the board like right after that. So it just depends on how desperate teams are for. I mean, just look at the guys that you're sitting here right here with that aren't corners. Brian Thomas Jr. has also been projected in the first round. So I'm saying like there are Adonai Mitchell. I didn't even see him sitting right there. You've got like guys that are going to be able to make an impact on your team in the second, third days. Like, are you really going to push for, are you going to reach for a receiver when there may be somebody higher on your board and you can get somebody like an Xavier Worthy if he gets pushed back that far? Now, again, Kenyatta, I agree, the 40 time is going to push him higher than what he probably would have been drafted had he run, say, a molasses type slow 4.34 down here. It's something. It's an eye popping stat. It's something that everybody pays attention to, and I think that yes, he may have been like top 15 of the second round, pushes him into the back end of the 25, 26, 27 range for the first round. So we'll see. It just depends on what the run in the first round happens like.
I mean, for all we know, it could be just limp buns, but only one way to find out, and I can't wait. April's one of my favorite times of the year, specifically for this reason. All of the conjecture, the rumors, all of the smoke that like you don't know if this team is putting it out literally just because they're trying to maneuver this way or that way.
I don't know any team like that, especially like one that's like red and gold and California.
Yeah,
I don't know anybody who's done that before.
They've definitely never done that before, have they?
What y'all talking about?
All right, pork bun. You know exactly what we're talking about, Trey Lance.
Yep. Mac Jones. San Francisco, Trey Lance.
My favorite, and neither of those times really worked out. Like I really enjoy that San Francisco. It drives me insane as a fan because I'll be reading all this shit that I know is like nobody knows for sure what anybody's talking about. So I know that my team plays stuff close to their chest. But my favorite part of that, or to the Trey Lance thing, that was fun. That everybody thought it was going to be one thing, and it ends up being Trey. But when we got Chicago to trade over us to take Mitch Trubisky, because we were talking, everybody's like, "Oh, they're going to take Mitch," and Chicago wanted him. Chicago traded with us. We went back one spot, still ended up getting Solomon Thomas, who we wanted, and gained a bunch of picks for that trade. That was like the slickest. Now that it didn't work out, Solomon Thomas doesn't play for us. He was a fine player, but he wasn't, number 3 in the draft worthy. But, and then obviously the Trey Lance thing didn't work out. But I like the slide maneuverability. I like not knowing what's going on, and it makes for a lot more fun.
Yeah, it is definitely more exciting.
Yeah, you guys are the masters of subterfuge in the NFL as far as when it comes draft time, especially if you've got like a good high pick.
I would almost guarantee you that we do not pick at 31. I don't know what it'll be. I don't know if we'll move from the spot backwards or we'll move from the spot up and do something weird. But I would guarantee you that we don't pick at we don't sit still in the first round. Because again,
go ahead.
That was it.
I do have to ask. Speaking of exciting picks, what was more surprising for you 49ers getting Trey Lance after they had talked about getting, Mac Jones, or Baker Mayfield going number 1 overall. Because I remember that one, and that one surprised the hell out of me.
Well, wasn't it? It was Hugh Jackson that was the head coach in Cleveland at the time, right?
I think so.
I think that there were rumors that like right before the draft, like literally like if it was draft Thursday, like we're talking Tuesday or Wednesday, there were rumors that he specifically wanted Baker. I could be wrong about that. I could be misremembering that, but I feel like he would all of a sudden he just went from not being talked about as the number 1 pick to like boom, it may be the fact that he's, and then he pulled the trigger and he is. And for Trey, for me, I was kind of leaning like thinking that it was going to be Trey. I didn't want Max, so that may have been where I was thinking, it may not have been any like actual anything that I'd read. It just had been like personal feelings of not wanting him, but it didn't really blow my mind because again, like it's hard to keep anything secret in the NFL, even if you're the 49ers who are ridiculously good at it. So I think that there was a good lean on both ways, but I think probably, I guess Trey, like I think Trey probably surprised me more because I think I do remember something like pretty solid about Hugh Jackson being excited about Baker or something like that.
Because there was a defensive lineman or outside linebacker, somebody that was supposed to be, that was projected as number 1 all the way throughout that class, and I can't remember who it was. I can't remember who it was.
What year was that?
I can look it up. So he was drafted. Sorry, I got to go to his Wikipedia.
It was the 2018 NFL draft. And Hugh Jackson was the head coach, and he was very excited and explained why he wanted the gooey situation.
It was Saquon Barkley that everybody thought was going number 1. Or Sam Darnold. It was one of those. I thought it was going to be a defensive guy.
If Sam Darnold ever starts ever again in the league, I will do the Dougie. Y'all remember the Dougie?
I remember the Dougie.
I think he's a really good backup. I just don't think that. I think he's an excellent backup, and I think that's just some people's role in life. That's fine, and I wish him the best. I have nothing against him. I think he's, to my knowledge, a good dude. It's just, man, there's so much hype around him coming out, and it all equated to nada. And in fact, if you guys want to talk about a remarkably disappointing class of quarterbacks, this all fits in. You had Zach Wilson. You'd call that a bust right now. Justin Fields. I'd call that a question mark right now. I actually like Justin Fields. I think he's got a lot of promise. Mac Jones and Trey Lance, all in the same class. And Trevor Lawrence, who up in the air at best right this second. I mean, he has moments where he looks like he plays the part. It's just that class was supposed to be the next coming of the great quarterbacks to build the league. And
we talked about it on the show because we were doing the show then, and I even said I think that there's a good chance that this could be the best group. Like when I watched them, there wasn't a whole lot of flaws. I mean, there are a lot of flaws, obviously, and I could pick out some of the stuff that's kind of making, Trevor throws into coverage a lot. It's kind of his MO. And at Clemson, he's throwing some 50-50 balls to some pretty good guys, but like they're a little bit in Jacksonville. It wasn't necessarily the same. Now he's clearly, I think Trevor's a clear QB1. So I think like you hit. He may not be a superstar, but you hit on your guy. Like you got a QB1 for the future. I agree with that.
Yeah.
I really think that Justin is kind of there too. I know that Chicago's in a position right now to make a change there. So, and we can talk about that as we get closer, or tonight, whatever y'all want to do. But Justin has proven that he may not be a superstar and overly consistent, but he has I think, proven to be a QB1. So I think that pick was successful. You get a QB1 for the foreseeable future. Obviously, Zach is. He seems like a sweet kid, man. Especially watching him on Hard Knocks. So pulling for him, but just clearly that has not gone his way.
Yeah.
I think that Trey Lance is the biggest question mark of them all, and that's not. I mean, there's a little bias. Obviously, I pull for him to be good. I said that he was going to be the best. Him and Justin Fields were the two. So I'm constantly like, hey, will y'all get y'all shit together and be the best out of this group? Because that's what I wanted.
Obviously, for me, it's Zach Wilson as like Kenny Baker in the R2D2 outfit. I hope he's just hiding in the can and waiting to pop out and just wow everybody, because that's the guy that I called. So far, hasn't happened.
I mean, he was on the Jets, and that's where great picks go to die.
For sure.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of optimism coming out of Hard Knocks, because you see this relationship with Aaron Rodgers and you're thinking, oh, he's being mentored by the great Aaron Rodgers. And then Aaron Rodgers goes down 4 plays into the season, and then he's thrust right back into it. And so, I think everybody's a little bit disappointed, as you probably, he didn't play well. So I think, a lot of the mood on him has soured also. You would have gotten a break had it been, I don't know, something less drastic. Like he goes in because Aaron sprains an ankle and he throws a few incompletions. It's like, oh, no big deal. He's still learning under Aaron. But then he has to take over the season, and it's like, oh, he's a bust. Get him out. What a bum. But he's taking a lot of snaps. So maybe, and not to say that we've seen what we've seen from Zach Wilson, but we've seen a lot more of him and the other guys than we have seen of Trey. Like Trey has very minimal snaps. We mentioned quarterback carousel before we got into this. Minnesota's rumored to, if they lose Kirk Cousins, they are rumored to possibly pursue Trey Lance, and he would go play in a system similar to what Shanahan runs, as far as the wide zone play action type stuff. Very quarterback friendly, and we may actually get to see him. First off, I want him to be successful, and my God, do I want him to be successful somewhere else besides Dallas? Like,
you want to pull for him, but you can't at Dallas.
Yeah, right now he's on the path of like, I hope I'm wrong. Like I hope that he gets out there and throws and his arm turns into like just noodles. But no, if he goes to Minnesota, I can pull for him. I have nothing against Minnesota,
Yeah.
And then he gets in a good program. Like they've been relative for a while now. They've got the number 1 receiver in the league. I mean, it would be a really good situation for him. But anyway, going back to what you said, Kenyatta, yeah, like the overall impact of this group has been a total bust, like as just a group and as a whole, because going into it, a lot of people, including myself, were thinking that it could be one of the better classes of all time.
Yep, Mac Jones was in that one.
I mean, it really felt like all of these guys.
Kyle Trask.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Kellen Mond. I never thought Kellen Mond was any good at all. I don't know how he made a 3rd round pick anyway. He was very
steady for a long time at A&M, and now he wasn't good, but he was like steady, and I think that pushed him into that role of like we'll take a flyer because he's a career achievement award type of situation.
Well,
it was the Zimmer, right? Is Mike Zimmer still with the Vikings? It was like, why aren't you trying Mond? He's like, we've seen him in practice. We've seen him.
We don't need to see him against competition.
It's like, oh shit, that is a huge indictment.
Yeah, it's not what you want.
Davis Mills, I don't think I even really heard of him.
He had a good rookie season with Houston, pretty decent rookie season with Houston.
Yeah, he had actually some good starts with the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like when they were picking so high, it wasn't necessarily like that they had to have a quarterback, but
called him Dougie Mills.
Well, and then they clearly, I think that they made the right move going ahead and pulling Stroud, but Mills is a quality backup.
Do you think so?
Yeah, well, I know.
Yeah.
High quality analyst there.
And I don't think there weren't many on the back end on this year. Ian Book, another one that just meh.
I didn't
Yeah, it
realize
was very
Ian Book
quarterback top heavy, but
Hmm.
didn't really pan out for a lot of them.
or for any of them. The only one
And
that I can think of that's panned out for is Trevor Lawrence, and even he, like, he'll still give you a 4 interception game.
Yeah,
And I like Trevor. I'm pulling for all the kids.
well,
Like,
they're all still, I was about to say, they're all still young guys. Like, it's just because they haven't panned out so far. And I know that we're in a society of like they need to be doing what they need to be doing right now. But I mean, just think about if Justin Fields does get moved from Chicago, he goes from a team that has, and just say it's Atlanta. This is hypothetical, just one of the names. Even though I'm hearing now that they're not getting a whole lot of trade interest for Fields at the moment, that's neither here nor there. But he goes to Atlanta. He has all these weapons around him in a completely right.
bro.
we lost Santana for a second.
Yeah, you froze for a second.
Well,
Where'd you lose me? Where was I at? I was on a roll.
About it.
If he goes to Atlanta and he gets
If he
on
goes
a
to
roll,
Atlanta, if he goes to Atlanta, all these weapons around him, the offense that they'll be running there, it's a similar. It'll be a Rams type style of offense. 49ers, it's quarterback friendly offense. He goes there and then just starts to fit in and do what he was doing in Chicago. He just has a better overall cast around him to help him do that. I mean, we're speaking completely different about Fields at that point. I mean, if he goes anywhere in a better system than what Chicago was, I mean, they got him DJ Moore this year. That's the best guy that he's thrown to the entire time that he's been there. Running game hadn't been much to talk about while he's been there, other than him, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, it just, you go and put him in Atlanta, throw him to London and Pitts and
Bijan Robinson,
Bijan, all the running backs that are over there. You know, and that's for anybody. And Mac Jones could go wind up somewhere. And how can you be successful as a quarterback when you have your offensive coordinator changes year to year, and part of those offensive coordinators were defensive guys that had never been offensive guys before?
Two co-offensive coordinators.
The greatest coach of all time, the greatest coach in the NFL history, made the decision to say, you know what? Yeah, we don't really need what is an offensive coordinator? Like, we just need them to like we know offenses, we're defensive guys. We'll figure it out. It'll be fine. Let's do it. Let's pull the trigger. Our young quarterback who needs some development.
Yeah.
All right, you know what? He's not getting it done. Throw in the other young quarterback. We'll develop him. Oh, that didn't work either. Shit. Okay, put the other one back. Yeah, Mac needs some rehab. He needs to go to Kansas City. He needs to go back up Mahomes in Kansas City, get groomed and petted and taken care of by Andy Reid, and shipped back off somewhere.
Go down to Tampa Bay.
Yeah.
Even have maybe Baker Mayfield can kind of humble him, and because I hear he could be quite the diva. I don't know if it's true, but I do hear he can be a diva.
Mac Jones.
That could just be just him, blowing up because of the situation, which is totally understandable, and then getting labeled as a diva. But
there's also and I've looked at enough. They labeled him as a dirty player, and I've seen enough to where it's like, damn, I didn't see that at Bama ever, and maybe the cameras just didn't catch it. But in the NFL, I mean, he is a borderline dirty player, and it is tough to be a dirty player at quarterback. But
that's what's so funny to me about it is that there are a lot of no, that's completely different. Yeah, it's just fucking weird. You have to go out of your way to be dirty. That's the thing. When you are dirty as basically any other position on the field, you can be like, "Whoops, was that dirty? Yep. Oh, I didn't mean to slide my hand all the way up in your face mask." And
offensive lineman, I got a cut. I missed a little bit. Whoops, my leg came up and hit you in between the legs. Oh man,
whoops, shucks, my bad. No, at quarterback, you have to go out of your way. Nobody wants to touch you unless you have the ball in your hands. So the only way to be dirty is to be it has to be blatantly on purpose.
Which is wild because we're all from Bama, and so we've heard Mac Jones on local Bama radio and whatnot, and he seemed like such a sweet boy, and maybe
He
he
really
is,
did.
but seeing some of the clips, it's like, dude, what are you thinking? Like,
He got up there in the Boston atmosphere
Yeah.
and was corrupted. That's what it did. They took our sweet Southern Mac
Yeah.
and shipped him up to Boston, and he thought like, well, I gotta fight everywhere I go.
I mean, just driving to work, he probably fights a couple people. Oh man. But yeah, 2021 class had a lot of I had a lot of hopes for it, but like y'all said, they're still really young. I mean, it took him till this year to kind of revamp his career, and he was in from 2018. So they still got a couple of years to kind of get their stuff together and get in the right places.
Situation is everything. Just watch what the difference between Trevor Lawrence's freshman year to rookie year to where he is now, and the difference between having like somebody to coach and weapons to throw to. I mean, yeah, he still does dumb things, but again, he's still a young guy. Brock Purdy, where he's at, like, look how well he has played. He still does dumb things. He's a second-year player. Like, these guys are toddlers when it comes to the amount of snaps that they've taken. And so look at the positives, what they do, and be like, wow, that is where like they could go. And situations, everything. Like Justin has been in a terrible situation. Mac Jones was in a god awful situation, and for the first part of his rookie year, looked like, I mean, he was good. Beat out an aging and kind of beat up Cam Newton for the job, and then he kind of hit that rookie wall. And not that he started playing terribly or anything, but you could see the fall off. And then just terrible situation after that. Zach Wilson has been in a terrible situation until really, and that offensive line is god awful, but that defense is pretty good, and he's got some guys to throw to out there right now. But situation is everything for a lot of people, and I think that patience on these guys. I mean, just again, Normie with Baker, he goes to Cleveland. It was a pretty good situation. He gets hurt, doesn't play as well as they want him to. They move on for just the worst type of move in football, in my opinion. And then he bounces around. He gets some play in LA with the Rams and looks really good. I was actually thinking that he might stay with the Rams and kind of be Stafford's backup, and then gets his shot to go down there and competes with Kyle Trask, which made me think, oh, Baker doesn't look very good, because I don't think that Kyle Trask has found his way in the NFL. I liked him at Florida and thought that he actually would be a pretty decent NFL quarterback, at least for the role he's currently playing. I thought that he could be a pretty decent backup, but I was thinking if they were competing for the starting job, that meant Baker was not playing well, but we see otherwise. So yeah, I mean, just give it some time. See if something like that for Baker, or if something like that can happen for Baker. I mean, can it happen for Justin Fields or Mac Jones? Zach Wilson's expected to find a backup role somewhere. And speaking of the Rams, Kenyatta, I think that he's been linked to you guys.
He has been linked to us, and I would be psyched about it. I mean, I still believe in the kid's ability. Like, why not? You know, that's the thing. I don't know if Carson Wentz will sign for a backup deal again. Although I also don't know who's going to get him for a backup. But that's dollars and cents above my head for what they will do for what and the whys of it. Everybody's got their own personal preferences on stuff like that. But if Wentz leaves, which I actually hope he doesn't, I was actually impressed with what he did with us. But
were you impressed? Okay.
Yeah, I do like beating the Niners.
But I don't know who beat who that day, but that was neither of those teams. So
very true. I mean, it was the last game of the season.
Yeah, nobody was playing the read option. Just like never run time one time as a Ram, and all of a sudden just. All right.
All I'm saying is y'all played more starters than we did.
Well, okay, we started more starters. Let's move on. Move on.
No, it was So yeah, no, I would be pleased if we got Carson back, but if we don't, and then our consolation prize is Zach Wilson, I mean, heck yeah, I was actually pretty happy with what we thought might happen with Stetson Bennett, and then
What's I think we've talked about it before, but what's the rumors behind that? Because they've kept it fairly quiet.
Yeah,
yeah,
talk about playing
they've
it
done
close
a
to the chest.
really
Yeah.
good job. Like,
Yeah.
there's nothing concrete. I mean, there's rumors all over to like mental breakdown. I think the biggest one is addiction of some sort. I don't know. I mean, it's something personal related, and whatever he is struggling with or not struggling with, and it's like legitimately a family member, and he want to go take care of his grandpa or whatever. I wish him the best. But that is one of the most clouded secrets.
Hmm.
The NFL insiders, plus agents, plus like just TMZ and people who can get dirt on. That is like the most close. Like Santana was just saying, close to the vest that I've ever seen. There is nothing solid that's come out yet, but it does kind of lean towards. And correct me if I'm wrong, Santana. It kind of lean towards some kind of addiction.
Addiction / rehab.
Just
All right.
the the way Sean talks about it specifically, like the way that he is. First off, not he gives no details, and and the way that he's kind of it hadn't committed to him being on the team like ever. That's the thing, is like the thing, like when you see Sean McVay asked about it, he says stuff like he's not with us at this time. I don't see him being with us in the future. Like it's not, there's nothing concrete that comes out about it. And yeah, Kenyatta, going back to the secrecy of it all, it is wild to me that nothing, again, going back to earlier, like it's hard to keep anything secret in the NFL. And it's I mean, just think about how many people you have in your life that if you said, hey, here's this cool information about the NFL, like you just pass it along until it gets to, it's just impossible to keep anything secret anywhere, but especially in the NFL. And for this to be so just nothing, like there's obviously rumors, and obviously it's easy to make rumors when you don't know anything that it could be something not good, but yeah, it does seem to lean towards some sort of addiction issue, whether it be a rehab stint or whatever he's doing. But actually, in saying that and in talking about the secrecy, like way to go, Rams, and everybody involved in this. Like pretty admirable to keep something like this out of the public. Like good job, guys. Because
Yeah, I mean, we're learning from the best. Just a few hours north of us on how to keep things close
don't
to the vest on
say
that.
shit. Do not say shit.
Do y'all think
But-
it would be, or we would know more if he was like a higher prospect? I know he what round was he drafted in? Like sixth round. If he were like a first, second, or third round, even like,
Oh,
do
they
you
would have
think?
found it.
Okay, that's what I was kind of thinking. Like, there would definitely be something out there. So could it be more just people aren't really pursuing it as much as they would?
I mean, yeah, like I think. I mean, if you're talking, I don't know. I won't extend it all the way to second and third, but if you're talking first round, there are no secrets now. Like that is, I think, the price of being
Well, and
excellent at your
especially
craft.
for
These days.
especially for the situation, because if you draft a first round quarterback, they're expected to, and I mean, at this point, second, third, like they're expected to compete for snaps. And especially in the first round, like you're expected to start. So like it would be a bigger deal. Like Stetson Bennett hadn't even won the number 2 job. So like he wasn't even necessarily like the number 2 quarterback, right? Like
He wasn't even sure to get drafted.
No, I know that, but like when he was on the Rams, like for the Rams, he wasn't even the number 2 like
Mhm.
for Stafford. Going into the season, he wasn't Stafford's backup yet. Like he was just on the team, right?
Yeah.
Right. So,
But he played well enough in the preseason to where it was looking like he was going to be the number 2.
right. A lot of people
Then we got
thought very
wiped.
highly of him because Sean McVay likes to copy Shanahan, and he went and got a Brock Purdy. But anyway, so if he was expected to be the number 2 guy or a big bright star in that offense, then yeah, I'm sure that we would know a little bit more. But he is. It's still high profile. Like it's high profile enough, especially in Rams and being in Los Angeles. Like
I mean, 2 national championships under his belt at a high profile school.
And what he had done in the preseason. Like he had played well in the preseason, so there was some buzz there. And
he was expected to be the number 2. I don't know if he had locked it in, but I think in the preseason he was taking number 2 snaps and I mean doing very well. But
same situation happens. It's Will Levis, though. Do we think we know what's going on?
Good question, Santana.
Because when was Levis taken? 3rd round?
3rd round.
Mm-hmm. And then basically expected to eventually, like he was taken in a spot where it's like, you're probably going to be the number 2 guy. You're expected to eventually take over number 1, but isn't guaranteed.
Fell to the 3rd round.
Yeah.
Like he was expected to be a 1st round pick.
Right.
There was a lot more like when the draft happened, this past draft, Stetson Bennett, even given his collegiate accolades, like everybody's like he's still short, he's still not that fast, not that strong, doesn't have that great of an arm, this, that, or the other. When we drafted him, I was like, yeah, okay, that's fine. He's a winner. I like that DNA no matter what. But there was like multiple mocks where he wasn't even drafted. So then he gets drafted. But Will Levis, on the other hand, not a winner, but everything else is kind of a Josh Allen type thing. He's tall, he's strong, he's got a cannon for an arm, this, that, and the other. So yeah, I think the microscope, like, I'm not saying shifting goalpost as much as like the lens is different for different players, and I think the lens on Stetson was backed out more, just because no one expected more. System quarterback. He played at Georgia. He was surrounded by talent. He was just a product of a lot of quality players around him, and he did what he had to do type thing. Whereas Will Levis, nothing against them or against him, like not knocking the kid, and just like, well, he hasn't done shit really. Most of his numbers are average to below average, honestly, but he has all the qualities that we want.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think the microscope focuses, especially once you declare for the draft or you're draft eligible, whatever, like it starts to focus in on that and then start to disregard the people who are like a Stetson Bennett. It's like, yeah, you play great in college, but you're a college player.
Or it gets to like a Laramie Tunsil and he gets his Twitter hacked right as he's about to get picked. Or right before the draft, and of him smoking a gas mask bong.
Oh man, and what a different world we live in too. Like if that same video leaked for any prospect now, I don't think it does any damage. Like
no, not at all.
Like which is hysterical that everybody was concerned. And I mean, Tunsil went on to have a pretty decent career, but
he's still regarded as one of the better linemen in the league.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry,
he was one of the trades for Bill O'Brien, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like one of the traded a first rounder for him.
Yes.
To Miami.
Yep.
Yeah. Yep. Because Miami drafted him.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, just the hoopla that went on for that video and just thinking about it, that dropped right now, people would be like, whatever, man. It's legal basically wherever all of these teams are.
Yeah. Poor Josh Gordon.
Man, no shit.
Oh,
Ricky Williams.
Ricky
Well-
Williams.
okay. Ricky Williams would have been like an arguable Hall of Famer, and definitely one of like, and still is one of your like most memorable names of all time. Josh Gordon, if he could have stayed off of weed, the numbers that he would put up when he was actually playing in his like rookie, sophomore, third year, and he was still dealing with suspensions through some of those years, he would have been incredible.
I agree. Are you saying that he would have been better than where Ricky Williams would have ended up?
Yeah, I think that as far as like where if the running back scale, like whatever, like Ricky Williams is going to be like way up at the top, and here's the baseline. Like Josh Gordon is, I mean, he's
Okay, but Ricky still had like a really, really good career and missed like 6 years in between. I mean, it wasn't 6, but he missed like a giant gap in between his.
yeah. Josh Gordon missed his whole career. He couldn't stop smoking
Yeah,
weed.
I
He
know,
went
but
back he went back to the Stars.
I think that Ricky, had he just played throughout and not had to have a gap and then not been relegated to splitting time in Baltimore. That was one of my favorite backfields was Ricky Williams and Ronnie Brown in Miami. That was a really fun team to watch.
That was really good.
Mhm.
But I mean, I think that Ricky had a chance to be like top 5 all time. I don't know that Josh Gordon would have reached that level. I have a lot of respect for Ricky Williams. I think that guy could have been.
When I'm not trying to disparage the man's name, I just know that Josh Gordon, he came out and like, man, he punched the league in the face. Like, I mean, he was so good. And
Baylor, right?
Baylor, yep.
Mhm. I forget where he is now. Let's see. Because didn't he try and do a stint with Kansas City for a little bit?
He's tried a couple of places and it hadn't stuck, but
Every time he signed to a new place, though, we were like, "Here it is. Here's his year.
oh yeah, this is
Yeah.
the one.
He's back." And then like week 4, they're like, didn't make it.
I mean, obviously, like in the grand scheme of things, Ricky will still finish as like one hell of a running back, and Josh Gordon will be a footnote at best. At best,
One of the like what ifs, like if you do like a past, like what could have been for this player type of deal.
mm-hmm.
Call Espen.
Oh, it was the Patriots.
Oh man, they
Oh
could
yeah,
use
yeah.
it.
The Patriots, the Seahawks, played in Canada, then Kansas City, the Titans. Yeah, Titans practice squad.
It turns out that not playing football, you're not as good as you were at playing football. And like even the dudes who do it day in and day out, like they say, like there's a difference between like I can run all I want, I can condition all I want, I can go and catch balls, I can throw balls, I can block dummies, I can block humans, my training squad, all I want. Football shape is different than training shape. Like it takes games to get in there, and then he missed all of that because he was constantly getting busted for weed.
Smoking weed. Oh man. Well, at least it wasn't Spice like was it Matthew they got
Yeah, Tyrann Mathieu.
at LSU? But that was when he was at LSU, not in the league.
Yeah, and he got suspended. Maybe
forgot
even
about
kicked
that.
off the team. I think he got suspended, and then he left, and then went to where did he go to?
I think he
A
went.
group of 5 school, Arkansas State.
I thought he went straight to the league.
Yeah, I don't think that he played anywhere else.
I thought he played for a group 5 first, but it doesn't matter. He just got re-signed to the Saints to a 2-year lucrative deal because
He's
he's
a
awesome.
player. He's a player that in college I was like, yeah, you do some things pretty okay, but are you really as good as what you're made out to be? And then since he's been in the league, he's done nothing but be better every year and consistent as hell. And he's made an impact on like every team that he's played for. And he's one of those guys that has played for a few teams, but everywhere he is, he's really good at his job.
Oh yeah, he's a dog.
Because he played on that team. Mo Claiborne was on that team, and I remember talking to a buddy about like the difference in cover guys. Like Mo Claiborne was a first round cornerback, like legit outside corner. Matthew played like fucking everywhere on the field, and different positions. They play different positions, and you would think that the guy who plays like the traditional, he's big, he's long, he's fast, great at press, great at zone. He's going to be the guy that lasts the longest. And nah, Tyron's been in the league for forever, and I don't see him shutting down anytime soon.
I was going to say, I think he just got a 2-year
With New Orleans.
like just like today.
Yeah, it was on today. And okay, here's a question for you, Normie and Santana. Do you think that Tyrann Mathieu has the career and has like the freedom to do what he does on defense without Troy Polamalu? Because they play a similar position in that, like, you know, up close to the line, you know, line. I mean, you can blitz, you can cover mid level, you can cover back end, and then move all over the field.
I think it's just one of those. He's just such a Swiss Army knife. I think he would have been fine just anywhere. I think it'd have been one of those. Just any team. It's like you just do what you do. You just be Matthew, and you just do what you do. And yeah, I don't think. I don't know. Those guys are just they're kind of one of a kind kind of guys, even though there's two.
I think when you have somebody like that, you just hope that you know what to do with them.
Yes,
I think that you can, if you want to connect the two, then you can say that the NFL is an extremely copycat league. I mean, just going back to what we were previously talking about, how Sean McVay wanted to copy Shanahan and get his own Brock Purdy, so he got Stetson Bennett. It's kind of the similar thing. Like, hey, this guy reminds me of this. I'm going to do this with this guy, and and he like
is
somebody
to
like
work with this guy. So let's try that.
The difference for me though with those two is a different style of aggression. Like there's something about Tyrann Mathieu where he's just kind of more aware of where the ball is than anybody I've ever kind of watched just casually, right? Like,
yeah,
you know that he's probably going to be in on a tackle, he's probably going to be in on a pass breakup, and he's probably going to be in on the turnover. Troy was this wild, ferocious thing that had barely had anything to do with football, really. I felt like when watching him, like it really had nothing to do with the sport as much as it was just like, I'm going to hunt and find. And he was just this very just natural, instinctual player. So whereas one is more like disruption, the other one is more, I don't know, tactician, I guess, if you want to talk about it in the way that like Tyrann finds a way to the ball. Matthews is more, or Troy's was more of this just like
chaos.
Like this just controlled chaos.
Tasmanian devil.
Yeah, he just
whirlwind. Like size, they were undersized to be an NFL safety, but then you're not a true. I mean, you are a safety, but like you're not a true safety. You're what do they call that? A star or a
rover,
a rover, like and I don't know if they invented that position for Troy. I'm sure that they'd had that before. It's just he played it the best. At least in our day and age, and does Tyrann Mathieu get the chance and succeed with the chance that he's gotten without somebody paving the way? But you're right; they do play the game differently. I'm not even saying that they played the game similarly. It's just that like to be everywhere. Like sometimes you line up at nickel, sometimes you line up and you're a blitzer, sometimes you jumping over the line. Not that I've seen Tyron do that, but
I'll be honest, as a true legend.
I mean he was
Yeah.
amazing, and
And the
obviously
hair, man.
Matthew's not going. Yeah, I mean he's got a new commercial out now. Him and Patrick, right? Is it
I
Patrick? It's
think
gotta be
so. I think
Patrick.
it's him and Mahomes. Yeah.
I mean, and Tyron's going to have a good long, already has had a good long successful career. So that
Hey,
Don't worry,
Buster.
I've had one of the cats jump in my lap like twice. So, but anyway, let's talk about a guy from 2021, Saquon Barkley. His rumors, where you think he's going, Cunyato.
okay. I think
Cunyato, you know something about that hair, right? I think
a little
Santana
bit.
does too.
Yeah. I think if we take our headphones out and pull out our man buns, you're going to be kind of shocked how long the hair actually is. But the Raiders would be kind of silly. I mean, not silly. And it's not like 1A to 1B. Saquon is a better running back in my opinion than Josh Jacobs, and it, I don't know the margin because I think Josh Jacobs is excellent. I
Well,
think
Josh is a
Saquon
free
just
agent
can
too.
do more. That's what I'm saying. Like, so they're moving on from Josh and then like go and sign Saquon. So it's just kind of like, well, why not just re-sign Josh probably for less money? But
Also, do you factor in like injuries as well? Because has Josh Jacobs been as injury prone as Saquon?
no, not yeah,
Because
like
I know you, Cunyato, you know all about Saquon
oh
Barkley's
yeah, no,
injuries.
I know every week when he's injured. Now this past year he's been phenomenal. Like as far as basically saying injury absent. Um, it's just like why would you let go of Josh Jacobs
Yeah,
to go to Saquon, and you're probably going to pay him similar amounts. And I do think that Saquon can do more than Josh. Not that Josh is like it's like once again, I don't know what the margin is,
Well,
but
and Josh may not want to play at the Raiders.
yeah.
I mean, they shafted him already a couple of times, so he might be like, you know,
Tell you what, I
um,
love this list. Other than the one team, like he could go and sign with any of those teams, and I'd be excited.
the best
Mhm.
landing is the Eagles
Yeah.
because yes, Miles
Is it,
Sanders is.
dude? You don't think that?
It really is.
What if Christian and Saquon in the same backfield? You don't think that's a a possibility?
I don't think it's a possibility,
Okay.
Santana.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm actually kind of bummed that Kyron Williams had the explosion that he had this past year because a team that would be in the market for that man right now. And no, I love Kyron Williams, but Saquon, Santana and I were talking about this today. The only person who can do basically everything as a running back to like a super high level, the way that Christian McCaffrey is Saquon Barkley. Obviously, there's Aaron Jones out there. Dalvin Cook in his prime, although apparently no one wants him anymore, and maybe he's
Najee
fallen way
Harris.
off. Not well, but we won't. We can't see it. We can't see it until they get that offense going. I
Yeah.
agree with you though, Normie. I mean, Najee Harris probably is in there, but consistently, I think they came in the league the same year too, with Saquon
Yes.
and Christian. But
Yes.
like it is kind of like 1A, 1B, and obviously right now it's 1 and 2. Christian being 1, Saquon being number 2, in my personal opinion. And
Christian
yes,
was the year before.
okay, 1 year before. Okay, so the Eagles don't need much at all, especially on offense. But Saquon Barkley, I think, would bolster that team tremendously. Not that it needs to be bolstered all that much, but at least would make our friend down here a little scared.
Nothing can make me any more scared than I already am. This is you don't get that many shots, and I've already gotten a few shots and hadn't got what I wanted out of it. So I'm already terrified. I don't need Philly, somebody who I'm sure is looking at any chance that they could get to fuck up the 49ers. Do not need them to add Saquon Barkley.
Yeah.
Also, how real just shitty would it have been, or would it be, for the Bears to trade Justin Fields, draft Caleb Williams, spend the next pick on one of the top receivers, and then sign Saquon Barkley? Like, Justin Fields can't get it done, but here, let's sign Saquon Barkley and draft a number 1 receiver, and with DJ Moore.
Yeah. And then you got the Patriots, who just need any and everybody that is.
I do not know what
decently good for on offense.
I'd be super bummed if Saquon went to the Patriots. I would be super bummed. He's already spent the vast majority of his career in the Northeast of just bullshit, we're not getting anything done zone. And then he would just go to a lesser version of that. Like, is running back the thing that's going to get us over the hump? No.
Almost never is the answer. That's never generally the answer.
Running back is a complementary piece. Go to somewhere that has a lot of the other things in place.
This is his opportunity to get Christian McCaffrey type situation. Like, go find your Philadelphia would be that type of level of situation. Somewhere that is just outside. Like, they just I know that Pacheco was amazing, but Kansas City adds that piece and becomes this ridiculously upgraded level of roster. For him, I don't know what drives the man, but for him to go to New England, it would have to be money solely. What could you possibly see in that environment and in that situation that you would want to jump from New York to there?
There's one they didn't mention in the title of the article, but I think would be pretty damn awesome. The Texans. Devin Singletary is a free agent.
I have seen that one too, and that's the one that I want him to go to. I think rumors have shifted recently that he may be leaning away, but that would be awesome. You just had this great Cinderella type season of coming out of nowhere, going to the playoffs. You got pass rusher, rookie pass rusher for the heading just up for rookie defense player of the year. CJ Stroud, rookie or offensive rookie of the year. You've got nothing but bright future, and then you add a player like that. You add a Christian McCaffrey type X level of player. That's where I want him. That's where I want him to go. As a football fan, that's where I'd want him to go.
Yeah, that would be fun to watch. I mean,
you do have Damian Pierce there too, though, who
which would be a great backup piece to Saquon Barkley.
He didn't break 1,000 yards, but he had 939 with a 4.3 average.
Mitchell at San Francisco.
Yeah, that's true. Elijah, yeah. Well,
There's
if the
guys who
Texans,
can
if
be.
the
There are
Texans get
serviceable
him,
starting guys, and then there are these type of guys. And I think that
yeah.
I mean, that's the thing. I mentioned Miles Sanders when we brought this up earlier, Kenyatta, and it's because Miles Sanders had such a really explosive season this past year. It's like, really, do you want to shake things up? I mean, I know that he's a free agent, but bring somebody back. Like, you pay him way less than you would pay Saquon Barkley. But I mean, the difference, and you pointed that out, was that the difference is Saquon Barkley and between Saquon Barkley and Miles Sanders is drastic. Miles Sanders is a good running back. He is a really good NFL football player. Saquon Barkley is like, when he is on the field, and if he can stay on the field, he's as good as there is at the position and can do a lot for you. He would be doing himself a disservice if he doesn't go somewhere like Philadelphia or
funny enough, isn't
Houston.
Their backstory that Miles Sanders backs Saquon Barkley up?
Yes. Yes.
Hey, bitch, I'm taking your job.
Penn State, man.
Yeah.
Penn State has put out some players that, for them to not have been overly threatening in the college football season.
Yeah. Because Micah Parsons was that same year.
Yeah.
He's real good.
They had some dogs.
Yeah.
They had some dogs. How good of a coach is James Franklin? That's a topic for another day, but
not very.
I mean, like what he did at Vanderbilt obviously is, I mean,
won't be topped probably
done it before. Yeah,
it hadn't been done, and I don't know that it'll be done again.
But then you go get a job like Penn State, that like as a job that you can recruit to and win championships at, and you just like, not only do you constantly play third fiddle to Ohio State and Michigan, like every big game you cannot win. You just can't.
Just choke it.
And with
talent, he beat Auburn twice. Those were pretty big games. Big games. those Auburn games.
They were big for.
They were big games. They were real big.
Big heartbreakers for some of us.
Well, at least the one at Penn State, the one at Auburn, that wouldn't really.
Still heartbreaking. It wasn't a contest, but it was still heartbreaking. It was heartbreaking in a different manner.
Okay.
But no, yeah, Miles Sanders, Saquon Barkley, Jahan Dotson, and Micah Parsons, I think, all played together at one point, and
nothing.
Well, to be fair, I mean, they are playing Michigan and Ohio State have been pretty dominant for the majority of the time that Franklin's been there. Like, who has he lost to? Like, what does his overall records look like? Like, he's always generally right behind those guys, and oftentimes losses coming specifically to those guys.
No, 100%. That's where he stays. Like, that's where he's lived his whole life. Like, or not his whole life, but his whole career there is. He usually loses like 2 games for sure, and then a third one that's kind of a surprise.
Jimbo Fisher, or James Franklin.
Okay. I'd take James over Jimbo. I mean,
Jimbo doesn't do anything for me.
No, I'd go James over Jimbo.
But just thinking of somebody who has a lot of clout for not really succeeding at anything other than, I mean, Jimbo has a national championship, but I think that was more Auburn's doing than Florida State's.
When you get $10 million a year to go fuck up all the time, and then literally get fired from it, they were willing to separate themselves from you for $70 million. That means you sucked.
It's not good. You did not meet our expectations.
I mean, he did win the Big Ten in 2016. I knew there was one year he actually won the Big Ten. They
yeah,
had,
and then Ohio State still went to the playoffs because they only had the one loss to Penn State,
yeah,
and they didn't get to play in the Big Ten championship.
yeah.
And
Or was
Penn
that the
State had the
year?
2 losses, and that's why Ohio State jumped them.
Did Ohio State play in 6? Or was that the year that they couldn't play in?
No, I
'Cause
don't think so. Like,
wasn't there a year Ohio State was really good but could not play in the championship? Or couldn't
mm,
go to the championship?
like I said, I think that's just because of Big Ten records. Penn State, their 2 losses, one of them was outside of the Big Ten. One of them was in the Big Ten, maybe to Michigan. I don't know who. Maybe Wisconsin, because Wisconsin was good at that point. But they beat Ohio State,
Oh,
and so they won the West because Wisconsin's an East opponent. And so they got to play in the championship, one championship. But then Ohio State went to
They
the
got beat.
playoffs.
They got beat 31-0 by Clemson.
Yeah.
Wasn't there one year that they were pretty good, but had a bowl ban or something?
I don't remember a recent bowl ban for Ohio State.
Google.
I mean, maybe, but I mean, hell, they've represented in the playoffs. I think probably third only to Bama and, well, I was gonna say Bama and Clemson, but hell, they might actually be over Clemson. Ohio State's been in there constantly, and I'm not saying it's not a monster to take down. Like, as an Auburn fan, like I I understand that beating Alabama is it's a tough hill to climb, but
Yeah.
hopefully it gets a lot easier this year, Normie.
If you're USC, would you rather have your current Lincoln Riley situation or the previously multiple time rumored James Franklin?
I think it's kind of 6 in one, half a dozen in the other, given what they've done.
Seems like Franklin has had better luck on the defensive side.
I was about to say that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, now Riley at the end of his Oklahoma tenure, yes, he had stepped up his defenses because he was making it to the playoffs and then getting throttled because they had no defense.
I think the best.
Although they had Georgia on the fucking ropes though that one game.
What a game! What a game! Watched that on my phone on the way home from Georgia. But yeah, and I think Lincoln Riley also at the end of his, like, if you had asked at any point, like, hey, would you rather have Lincoln Riley while he was at Oklahoma or James Franklin? I think that USC fans obviously go Lincoln Riley, but now where you're at is like, well, what could have been, and you see very much so that, and I think the greatest thing in like the greatest sports karma situation going on right now is that Lincoln Riley is being not very successful at USC, like the way that Bob Stoops, the guy at Oklahoma, handpicks him to replace him. He's there and trying to move the program forward, and then in the like cover of darkness, signs a deal with USC. Like, yeah, you drop some games that you shouldn't, and you don't get your defense in order. That's sports karma for you, and good.
Well, not that Bob Stoops had the defense together his damn self for a lot of the years, but agreed, that is sports karma. Like, and even Bob Stoops, when he made the move, was pretty pissed off. And I'm not an Oklahoma fan. I actually don't like Oklahoma that much, but
the state, Kenyatta, oh my.
I have no problem with the states, the fans of the school. Oklahoma State fans, I have no problem with.
Our comments are about to explode right now.
I was going to say,
give me
Mike Gundy, like, come on.
I mean, yeah.
I'm a man.
I'm 40. But
that's crazy. That he's like He's in his 50s now. How long ago was that? Like
A decade.
that was when like
at
we were in
least.
high school.
Yeah, a decade at least. But no, like the fact that like the whole program, like, and they should have turned on him. Like, you had a good deal here. Like, we gave you the world. And obviously there's a lot of speculation and conjecture that it was like he was afraid to play in the SEC. Now you got to play in the Big Ten, which is SEC light. Sorry, Big Ten.
Hmm.
Oh well.
I'm kidding.
Are
I
you
mean,
though?
obviously Michigan just won the national championship. So,
I'm so excited
but
about Harbaugh going to the Chargers. I know we've already talked about it, but just it's exciting.
Sorry, not sorry. So Albiona.
uh,
Now let's switch to some. Let's talk quarterbacks. So we
I
got
think Santana's
here.
ready for this.
So just Yahoo Sports, NFL's free agent rankings, the top 5 QBs. So number 1, we got Kirk Cousins. So wasn't there a recent rumor about Kirk Cousins and Atlanta?
A confirmed rumor that he was at least shopping houses in Atlanta. And that's, I can't remember which insider, so sorry, whichever insider watches us, that I'm not giving you credit for. But that doesn't mean that he's not shopping houses in other areas too, but at least there is interest there.
I would
I
think
mean, he's from Michigan, so I don't know why he would be shopping for houses in Atlanta.
Exactly.
I think that if he doesn't re-sign with Minnesota, that he would be. I think Atlanta's your best bet, and I think that Atlanta is not necessarily a quarterback away, but I think that somebody like Kirk Cousins or Justin Fields or Russell Wilson, who we'll talk about at some
Don't you
point.
put that evil on me? Don't you put that evil on me?
Hey,
I
he
think that
finishes like a top 10 quarterback this year.
I mean, at worst, top 15. I think statistically overall, he was in the top like 10 to 7, but I think at worst in anything, he was 15th. I think the Broncos did him kind of raw, but
They did. They really did.
but
Well,
also,
they did themselves raw.
yeah, I mean, Russ is fine. Like, I think that he'll be
Yeah.
okay. But
I'll take $1.15 million
I was gonna say
while I
he's
get
willing.
paid 35 on the side.
Right, he's gonna get whatever he's owed, and then he's going like I don't know. People should be probably. I think they're sleeping on Russell Wilson right now. But he's come out and said that he would take vet men to play, and you're just going, okay, that's a borderline, if not 100% Hall of Fame, like future Hall of Fame quarterback. He's willing to play for peanuts. You're not gonna like kick the tires. So anyway, not necessarily that Atlanta is a quarterback away, but I think there's a lot of pieces there that if somebody like Kirk Cousins comes in and can bring some stability to that position, Atlanta could be talked about as at least pushing for that division.
Okay. Well, here's it looks like Tampa Bay is actually doing all that they can to bring Baker Mayfield back. So if you're Atlanta and you're not trying to go after one of the draft picks, you're going for a free agent vet. Kirk Cousins, Justin Fields, Russell Wilson. How do you guys rank those? And then also think about it in a long-term situation too. Because I have my ranking.
I go cut. It really. I have Cousins, Fields, and then Russ. Because I think Cousins can, for what they have right now, I think Cousins puts them more in a place to win a Super Bowl. I think Fields would need a couple of years.
I 100% agree, Normie.
And I I mean, I've already y'all can kind of see how I feel about Rust.
It for me, it depends on what you're looking for in the situation. The entire offense is young. Cordero Patterson is the oldest guy. So they've got time on that side of the ball. They've got work to do on the defense. So it's not like you really are necessarily in a need to win now situation. So for me, yes, I think that Kirk Cousins is the immediate answer. If you want an immediate answer and you're any team looking for a right now answer at quarterback, it's Kirk Cousins. For me, and specifically with Atlanta, it's 100% Justin Fields. Like, I would trade.
Yeah.
I would do what I could reasonably. Like, I wouldn't just go giving away future for Justin Fields, but I would do what I could reasonably to get Justin Fields. Because, yes, I agree with you, Normie, that, like, right now, if you want the answer right now, it's Cousins. And, yes, I do think that it would take Fields isn't there yet, but Fields also hasn't existed in an environment like what the Atlanta offense offers and what I think Raheem Morris's overall structure of the team will be like, and then the offense that will be run there with. So for me, Kenyatta, I would put Fields at my top of really any of these, but in saying that, I do think Kirk Cousins is like the best quarterback available. If that makes any sense. Like, I would pick Fields, but Kirk Cousins is the best.
If you want the most wins right now, you go Kirk Cousins. I mean, the guy wins games. I think if you're talking about like projecting towards the future, you go Fields with the upside, because and I don't mean to disparage Kirk Cousins. He seems like a good dude and has been a phenomenal quarterback every time he's gotten a start. And remember, he had to wrestle that start away from Robert Griffin in the first place. But and then everybody was doubting him at that point, and all he did was put up phenomenal numbers, and that's basically all he's done ever since he started.
I don't know that he necessarily had to wrestle the spot away.
Well, I mean, okay, injuries.
Yeah, RG3 had some knee issues. He wouldn't. If they were wrestling for it, RG3 stood no chance.
Yeah, it's just go after the knee.
Yeah,
go for the knee. Yep.
But like if you want to win right now, but like not go anywhere, I think that's what Cousins is. And once again, not trying to disparage the man, but I think I agree with Santana. If you want to take a gamble, a bet, because what is Cousins like? He's had big game problems his whole career. Like the biggest game he's won on a Monday Night Football game is against.
Why? I don't think that was why.
That's what he's best at.
I'm really good at it, but see, I'm the Kirk Cousins of this show. Like, I'm not gonna win us a Super Bowl. I'm not gonna take us to an NFC championship, but I'll bury my opponent.
You'll Tanya Harding them and mess up their knee.
But yeah, I agree. I think I'd take a swing at Fields first. But if Russell Wilson would intrigue the absolute hell out of me, because he has climbed that mountain. Okay, so you got one who puts up all the numbers and gets you a lot of wins, but doesn't do much with it in the postseason or big games. You got the other who is completely unproven, but has a ton of upside. And it's a gamble. And your middle, like, that one's too hot, that one's too cold, this one's just right. Russell Wilson actually makes a lot of sense. And
if you're Washington right now, sorry, go ahead.
No, you just get to pay him nothing, and he's climbed that mountain and been to 2 Super Bowls and multiple NFC championships. Why not?
Well, if you're Washington right now and you're sitting there with the number 2 pick and have the option to either drastically alter your offensive line with somebody like Joe Alt, or take another major weapon with Marvin Harrison Jr. or any of the guys that are right there in that area, or trade back and make another impact at another position and you could sign Russell Wilson for next to nothing, like is anybody so enamored with Drake May that they wouldn't think, especially for a team like Washington, like they're not that far off, right? Like I don't think that anybody thinks that they are hopeless. Like Carolina is a team that needs so much, but like Washington could be competitive this upcoming season. So you take Drake May and like, yeah, you get your quarterback for the future, or you take this Hall of Fame quarterback at the vet minimum and then use the number 2 pick to either take somebody major right there, an impact player right there, or trade back, gather more picks. And like what, I don't know. These are weird hypotheticals. I don't think that Russ has been linked to Washington at all. It's just something that I was thinking about.
I mean, that's the fun of this part of the season, because football might only yeah, I am, I'll be honest, and like honestly accidentally, but also a little on purpose. No, that was actually completely incidental. I was just thinking about, like, I think that's like his second win on a Monday night. But as far as Washington goes, they really are. I mean, they've got Jahan Dotson and Scary Terry on the outsides. They did cut Logan Thomas. I'm actually excited to see where he goes. I'd be pretty psyched if he was a Ram. Because he's, stay on the field liability, but
on the field, you like him over Higbee?
I think that he brings more to the table than Higbee. I mean, obviously we have Higbee, so I mean, bird in the hand is worth 2 in the bush. But Logan Thomas is I mean, he's pretty explosive. But yeah, I haven't seen Washington linked to Russ either, but that would be a good fit. There's the Vikings. You got Justin Jefferson and all of their young weapons. Atlanta, all of their young weapons. The Redskins, the Commanders, all of their young weapons. I don't think that there's a bad landing spot for Russ, and it's not like he's coming off of a shit year. Like, he played really well this past season. If I was a quarterback needy team, like I said, Kirk Cousins is going to get you this, and Justin Fields could get you all of this, but Russell Wilson is here-ish, like, and with the ceiling of this, whereas Kirk has never given you that ceiling.
I really think that if me personally, I would probably put him and Kirk in a similar boat. Like Russ got a real bad, not great look the last 2 years, and specifically going over to the Broncos with all that he went over, the huge contract, the huge trade that the Broncos sent for him, and then to not even last a full 2 calendar years on the team. So he's got the flavor's not great there. Like there's a bad taste in everybody's mouth, even though quietly, like we've been saying, he had a top 10 statistical season. Didn't translate to wins for Denver, but again, say Kirk Cousins does move on. Kenyatta just mentioned it, how good of the situation is in Minnesota. Say Russell goes to Minnesota. Like what I really don't know that Kirk Cousins gives you anything that Russell Wilson wouldn't give you. Or at least Russell Wilson has shown the ability to do so. Kirk Cousins is playing at like an extreme level right now. So I don't want to say that Russ would give you the same thing, but think about just overall situation. Like Russ could do himself a lot of good by getting into a good situation like a Minnesota. So I do think Kevin O'Connell said that there's a good chance Kirk was coming back. So
He seems like he wants to be back in Minnesota. I think it's mutually beneficial for both sides. It just, from what I've seen of Cousins, is like he's not going to be the guy that takes you over the. He's not going to reach the mountaintop.
Well, some people thought that about Matthew Stafford.
Okay, wildly different scenarios here. Wildly different, Normie.
Wildly different.
Okay. Matthew Stafford played for the Rams or the Lions before they had Dan Campbell. Dan Campbell is one hell of a coach. If it wasn't Kevin Stefanski for Coach of the Year this year, it easily could have been Dan Campbell.
Shanahan had a pretty good year. Probably could have. Shanahan probably could have gotten a few votes.
No, y'all's team is way too talented. You can't get Coach of the Year when
I understand you so hard, Normie. I understand you so hard. This is Bama. I get it. Just you can't have anything nice. Oh, sorry that we built our team so good. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, right.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Hey. John Lynch absolutely should be GM of the year.
I think it's a soft J. I think it's Jan Lynch. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
It's the Jan Lynch. I
Yeah,
could be wrong. I'll look it up.
He worked his ass off to build the best roster in the NFL.
Dude, listen, I've talked on here before already about Adam Peters, new GM of Washington. And I'm really bummed that we lost him because I know that John Lynch worked his ass off, and I know that Kyle Shanahan has his hand in everything. Like, we are a really stable and really well ran system, but Peters was he pulled the or was in the ear of everybody for a lot of like our key guys like Kittle and Warner and some of these other guys he's tied to. And I'm expecting some stuff from Washington. I know I just so happened to bring them up just a second ago, but gaining Peters as the GM, some of the stuff that they've done in ownership, like I could see some big things for them. But I'm bummed about losing Peters. I'm scared about because San Francisco has been so good here lately about hitting in these middle rounds. They had a really, really good like late round 7th round pick not too long ago. And you know, I'm hoping that was a program thing. We'll talk about it later. So yeah, I'm scared to see just. Hopefully, there's not a big shakeup in the middle of the front office stuff there as far as drafting stuff goes.
Well, next up we got Baker Mayfield. And honestly, I don't see why Tampa Bay wouldn't bring him back.
Everything that I've seen looks like they are actually mutually working on a deal towards that way, especially after the Mike Evans re-signing.
Yes.
Because, I mean, you're not going to play with a guy that's that consistent maybe ever in your career. Like, I don't actually know how many people have been that consistent. He's been in the league for 9 years, and for 9 years, he's posted over 1,000 yards every year. Now, one of those years was 1,001 yards. I think it was his 3rd or 4th year. And I actually, when I saw it, I was like, did they do that on purpose? Just like kind of like Kelsey going into the playoffs to get his record or whatever for 1,000 yards for a tight end. I don't know. It doesn't matter. But Mike Evans is an absolute beast and doesn't seem like he's slowing down whatsoever. And I heard that the Mayfield camp got way more energetic into the trade talk, or not trade talks, the negotiations for re-signing after they re-signed Mike Evans, which makes tons of sense because you're playing with, I mean, he's kind of an unsung hero these days because he's just been consistently doing what he's doing, but he's doing it. Talk about the Nick Saban and Bama and San Fran, like, well, when you get this good, no one really cares.
It's not the same. You don't understand. I think that it was kind of, for me personally, without knowing like literally anything about the inside of what's going on in these situations, I thought that it was kind of foregone conclusion that Baker would be back with Tampa.
Mm-hmm.
A lot came out though about, which is again going back to some of the fun of this time of year, those smoke and mirrors. A lot came out about where Baker could be a good fit, which teams are prioritizing Baker. I think New England came out and said, or not that New England came out and said, but it was reported that New England was interested in Baker. This team was interested. If they lose this quarterback, then Baker would be an option. And so I think that realistically, I think both teams or both sides of the deal really thought, yeah, this is probably the best way to go for both of us. But then, yeah, as soon as Mike Evans signed back, because I hadn't seen this reported at all, but I mean, I could have seen Baker be like, "Where are you going, Mike? Like, if you're going somewhere when needs a quarterback, let's go." But yeah, so to get Baker back, I think is a huge win for Tampa. I think it's a huge win for Baker, and then especially to have Mike Evans, and that probably means that Mike Evans finishes his career there, and good for him, and good for Tampa, and good for Tampa fans for that.
Yep. I looked at this that someone needs to edit these articles, and he looks again like a viable starter as he enters his age 29 season.
Yeah, that's how you word that. That's how you do it.
As he enters the season, age 29. I don't know. Anyway, but yeah, him returning should be a pretty damn easy, unless somebody just offers him more money, which I don't. I mean, do y'all really see another team offering him more money?
Not to be a starter.
Yeah.
Well, no, like just period. No, and I think it's kind of mutual. They want him back. He played pretty well this year, and I talking about smoke and mirror Santana. I think a lot of that was just negotiation tactics.
Yeah, for sure. Like, because I thought that the teams that came up, I was like, well, yeah, I mean, they could use Baker, but could Baker use them with the way? I mean, he fits in Tampa. I mean, and it's his play style. Like, it's kind of neat that it's either them or the Raiders. Like, he's got to be playing for Pirates. Like, he just that gunslinger type of deal. And then again, just getting Mike Evans back. Like, why would you want to go anyway? Especially when you know Mike Evans is coming back. Like, you could go to New England, who would maybe pay you more. Who you gonna throw to? Not Mike Evans. Like, there's some other teams that were interested. Atlanta was one. Like, do you want to go to Atlanta? Sure, I'll go to Atlanta. Or I could just stay where I am and throw to Mike Evans.
Yeah. And also, don't they still have Cal Trask?
Yeah,
I believe so.
That's give him another year to kind of develop and not be thrown to the wolves like a lot of these other quarterbacks have been.
Well, I mean, in talking about age 29 season, I mean, 29 is not that old for a quarterback these days.
I mean, because
it's not old for a lot of stuff these days, really.
Yeah, it's true. But I mean, I think he's got a lot of tread on the tires. And look, I've been here and here and here and here with Baker, but after this past year, like, the guy's a gamer no matter what. Like, and talking about that winning mentality, he has that. I can't take that away from him, and he's actually grown on me. I actually like the cat.
Yeah.
Is he going to win you a Super Bowl? I don't know. I couldn't tell you that really. Like,
exactly.
He's fun to watch, and he wins games, and he makes plays that a lot of people wouldn't make. And it seems that his teammates enjoy playing with him. And you're not in a position, Tampa, to make a major quarterback move unless you're talking about one of the free agent guys. and you have Baker and just did what you did with Baker, I don't know that you could necessarily say, even if Kirk Cousins was interested, I don't know that you could say like one of the top free agent quarterbacks would be a better trade off for like better than Baker. So I think both sides win here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, if I had the choice between this list, would Baker be at the top of my list? I mean,
I don't know if he. Yeah, I don't know if he'd be at number 2, but
would he be if he had played for you the year before? Like if he was your like Tampa, if he was your quarterback this
like
past
if you
year,
can just re-sign him,
right?
yeah,
Like you know, is he the quarterback that we would want as people who are not the guys that just watched him play on the field, you know, week in, week out?
I mean, he took a Tampa Bay Buccaneers team that was not supposed to make the playoffs to the
that was supposed to
playoffs,
be last
and
in their
then
division.
exactly, and then won a playoff game. I mean, and he gets his best weapon back, and then if you re-sign him to a reasonable deal, now he's already said he's not going to take a hometown discount. But so you might have to pay some money, but I don't also think that he's going to try and command like Aaron Rodgers type money or anything, or Deshaun Watson.
Well, it also goes back to. Go ahead.
It's also Florida, so he can get paid a little bit less, but not have to worry about that income tax or the state income tax. So he may, on paper, it may look like he's getting paid less, but his net salary will be pretty good.
When you just got your best weapon back, maybe the best weapon Tampa Bay's ever had. I think that I would be shocked if Baker Mayfield is not the Tampa Bay Buccaneers quarterback next year. And if you guys want to make any kind of stake bets on that, I'll take them.
I'm pretty sure Bleacher Report is ahead of you on that, and I'm not taking any bets.
Yeah.
I haven't even looked at
it. All righty. Next up, we got Russ Wilson from Denver.
I think the best fit's the Minnesota Vikings if they don't re-sign Kirk.
He's reportedly visiting Pittsburgh, which I think would be a good fit. You know what
I think
is interesting?
Pittsburgh might be a new Denver for him there.
You think so? I mean,
you've got really solid stuff around you, but like nothing like explosive. Go give him a Justin Jefferson.
I know. I think I definitely think the better fit is Minnesota. Yeah, 100%. But I think that Pittsburgh getting like just bones over there.
I mean, they got talent, no doubt.
It's not. I mean, is Deontay Johnson a free agent?
That I don't know. And NFL teams are not banging their heads against the wall about it, but they're aware.
I don't think so, because all these articles talk about the pros and cons of Steelers trading Deontay Johnson.
Okay.
You know, and I've seen like a fire sale for some of the offensive pieces for the Steelers, and also they're not interested in any of the veteran quarterbacks, even though they also released that they were interested in bringing in a vet to tutelage.
There had been reports going into the offseason that they wanted to bring in somebody to compete and just be a bigger presence in the room with Kenny. Mm-hmm. And then there was a report that they were split down the middle on who wanted who as far as Kenny Pickett versus Mason Rudolph, which you and I talked about how if you're thinking that it's Mason Rudolph, then you're in trouble. And so then it got to be like that. Yes, all of these names, Kirk Cousins, Russell Wilson, all started coming out about like, okay, they're going to be on the market.
Tannehill's a big one in there.
Yeah, Tannehill for whatever reason. And so, but then it comes out as like, all right, now we're not looking at veteran quarterbacks. And then, like, literally just today, maybe even a little while before I sat down, it was Russ's meeting with Pittsburgh. I think that would be beneficial for everybody involved, but I obviously Pittsburgh's defense is there. Pittsburgh has 2 running backs that are extremely effective. George Pickens, Deontay Johnson.
Well, something I just skimmed through right now with Deontay Johnson, it looks like the Steelers would possibly be willing to trade a second-round pick for him, which is pretty possible. They said it says they might not do a third round, but a second round, yeah.
They definitely.
And it sounds like they're really looking to offload him.
Well, they've got to change something over there. I have not thought that it was really the skill positions that has been their issues, but the offensive line. But because I think I'm not necessarily a huge Kenny Pickett guy, but I do think that he's shown flashes of being able to be consistent, and I think somebody like Russ ahead of him for a year or something like, or a few years could do him some good. But for Russ's sake, the biggest thing for me with the Russell thing is I want to know what Denver's going to do. They are not in a real great position in anything. Like you can't offer. You can offer good weapons, but what you can offer versus other people's weapons aren't that great. You aren't selecting overly high. Like you would have to make a move, like unless you're looking at somebody like a Nix or a Penix or one of these other guys. But like, is that really where you want to go? Like, just the overall quarterback change. I mean, it's fascinating. I'm excited to see what happens because talking about sports karma, it's kind of like, okay, y'all screwed yourselves, and now you've screwed Russ, and you kind of, I'm not hoping that you fall on your face per se, but also like maybe a little face falling.
Honestly, I would feel so bad for whoever, if say they do draft high, whoever they draft. I'm so sorry, dude, because you are just effed. It'd be the new Zach Wilson or something like that, where you're just screwed.
Well, I've seen him linked to McCarthy. I've seen him linked to, I mean, like all the like top guys. They're not low enough to be just completely out of it, but they are low enough to like you're not getting one of the top 3 guys unless you make a major move. So then it comes to that second tier of dudes, whether it be McCarthy or Nix or Penix or whoever, whatever your rankings are. You're not going to get one of the top guys. So you just had. Now I know the money things. Like maybe they're just looking at completely like, okay, we're rebuilding. We're done with where we were. We're not going to continue to pay Russ this, so we'll just pay nobody this dead money that it has come to. But I just the quarterbacks that you are going to have a selection from, unless you land one of these free agent guys, and I just again like you said, Norman, like you're kind of effed. Like what do you have that's going to want, like somebody's going to want? Like there's nothing there that anybody wants. Maybe Sean Payton. The defense is pretty all right, but Jerry Judy's not producing.
No.
They've got some names between Sutton or Cortland Sutton and
Cortland Sutton.
Yeah, Tim Patrick. Like they've got guys on the offense. They're just it's not doing it. None of the guys are like names that anybody wants to go play with. So I'm fascinated about what they're going to do. Is like you kind of screwed yourself. So how are you going to climb out of this? Cleveland is somebody I feel very similarly about that with.
Yeah. No, like for me, this is the equivalent of somebody who like took a few classes of fighting school like whether like just MMA, and stepped in and was like, "We're ready to do it." Because I don't know which Walton it was. I don't even know if it's an exact Walton, but I know it's a tie to the Walton family. And they immediately became easily the richest owners in the NFL. Like you can probably combine like the next three owners, and not equal the net worth of the people who own the Broncos now. Like, yeah, we'll eat $83 million, and then everybody else is like, "Do you know what the fuck you're doing?" Like that's first off, there's a cap. It's not like you just get to pay that and then like pay it to someone else. Like I'll just hand them that in cash, no big deal.
Yeah, that's gone. That money's gone.
Like that, like here's the cap. That's the gap now for somebody that is gone, and then they announce it that they're going to cut him. Like they announce it. And then
But you can seek a trade. You can seek a trade.
Seek a trade. And then everybody else like, why in the actual hell?
You saw the contract that you signed him to, right? No, we're not trading for that.
No, I don't. No, we're not trading for that. Chewbacca and I were talking. He's like, that'd be like me, like being like, yeah, I don't want this PlayStation anymore. I think I'm going to throw it in the trash can. But I'll sell it to you for $50. Like, no, I'll wait until you throw it in the trash can.
Yeah. Once it's in the trash can, it's free game.
Yeah, like, I'll just take it from there. Like what? Like there's no bidding war there.
Russell Wilson may not be a PS5 getting thrown in the trash can, but he's a PS4. Like at it. I mean, play the game right now. There are a bunch of quarterbacks I'm sure that we would take Russell Wilson over. You know,
I take Russell. Like I think he's a top 15 quarterback still.
If you're, I mean, Seattle, like you take Geno Smith or Russell Wilson.
I take Russell Wilson.
You take Russell Wilson. You're Arizona, you take Russell Wilson over Kyler Murray.
That'd be close, but probably Russell Wilson.
Not our guys. Not either of our teams. Not Green Bay, not Detroit.
Nope.
Obviously in Minnesota.
Maybe Detroit.
I don't know. I
wouldn't mess with that.
Yeah, Jared Goff is playing well, and Russell Wilson was a top 10 to 15 guy last year. Jared Goff was like a top 4 guy last year. So,
yeah, no, I agree. I'm just, once again, it's about like who can actually get you to the mountaintop.
Would you take him over Derek Carr?
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Easy.
Probably take him over the majority of that division.
Oh yeah, we're talking about the South. I mean,
because he would be the guy in Atlanta.
He could bring Bryce up.
Yeah.
Obviously Baker will never be what Russ has been. Derek Carr, as much as I actually appreciate his game, Russ has been and does just so much more for your team.
Derek Carr is like Russell Wilson light. Like Derek Carr does a lot of. He's really consistent, and Russell Wilson, for the most part of it in his career, has always been really consistent. He's not going to lose you games. He may not always win you games, but he's not generally going to lose you games. And Derek Carr is just like right on the back end of that. Like he may, and at Russ's best years, Derek Carr throws for like 500 yards less and 6 touchdowns less and 2 more interceptions or something like that. Maybe not. That statistically could not line up at all.
But definitely the Russell Wilson thing is it's going to be something to watch out for and keep tabs on.
We just went through one division that I would take him over every one of them. Like we don't have to run through every single one, but and then also New England's interesting, which I haven't heard a whole lot of buzz about that. But I mean, gosh, like they got to get somebody.
Yeah.
I think they'll. It could just be. I don't want it to be chalk. Like I don't want that. From what I understand, is going to be quarterback 1, 2, 3. But I do. It does seem like because Belichick said that he was, or it has been reported that Belichick was high on Jaden Daniels, and it has continuously been reported that the Patriots are still high on Jaden Daniels, which doesn't shock me because they didn't really blow the staff up or anything. They hired a guy that worked there already, so
Yeah.
it wouldn't shock me if Jaden goes off the board at number 3, unless somebody moves ahead of New England.
Is Gerard Mayo Alabama or Tennessee? I know he's SEC.
Tennessee, I think.
I thought Tennessee.
Tennessee? Okay.
I don't think he was Alabama.
I just knew he like from
His name,
from our footprint.
contrary to popular belief, his name is not short for mayonnaise.
Tennessee, 2004 to 7.
I gotta take time to process that. I was positive he was Gerard Mayonnaise.
Oh, Doug. Y'all remember Doug? Patty's brother?
No, and I'm pulling for him. He's a hell of a player. But the thing is, New England and the Panthers are the two teams that just like, if you gave me the last 2 shots of making the playoffs for the next year, I would put them at number 1 and number 2, 1A, 1B.
Nah, dude.
There's so many things that they need.
No, the NFC South is weird, dude. The New England will not make the playoffs next year. I would bet your house on it. But Carolina, say they hit. I mean, they would have to hit and hit hard. But Tampa could trip up. I mean, it is Tampa. Atlanta's got a new coaching staff, just like Carolina does. They still don't have their quarterback. And the Saints, they aren't going to win their division, but I could see Carolina finishing second, making the playoffs in a wild card scenario.
I could not. I couldn't. Tampa has been too consistently good. Also, did you see the Saints are likely to cut Michael Thomas? So
yes, ma'am.
Santana, Doug, Bunny, and Patty Mayo.
Yep.
Anyway, yes, Cunyato. I did see that actually like right before we came on. But yeah, the Saints are contemplating just cutting Michael Thomas.
Man, at the peak of his game.
Oh, he's one of the guys. He was one of the top guys.
Yeah.
Up there with a Mike Evans in the way that they just were consistently doing their job and putting up 7 catches, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns a game. That was like literally there every game.
Mm-hmm.
Now that guy's just going to be cut to the wind. I mean, somebody's going to pick him up. He's too good to just not be signed.
Hey, if I'm Kansas City and I'm needing receiver help, you can probably get Michael Thomas for and you probably get him for. I mean, you could call him and he'd be like, "I want more money." And you'd be like, "Go fuck yourself." But he's, I mean, just in case, like.
Yeah. Do you want to win?
Yeah, if you want to win, come on over, and maybe it works out, maybe it doesn't, but it's a low risk option to have a guy who at one point in time was playing like at the top of the league level.
Oh yeah, I mean he was arguably 1, 2, or 3 for at least half a decade.
If he's 50-60% of what he is or had been in the past, like he's worth bringing in.
Yeah. All right. So next we got Ryan Tannehill with the Titans.
Apparently that was the big one that was rumored to Pittsburgh for a while, and they've backed off on all of it. If I was a team in search of a starting quarterback, I would scratch that name off my list. And I have nothing against Tannehill whatsoever. And when he moved to the Titans, and was it Arthur Smith as his OC and Derrick Henry as his running back? I mean, yeah, like it revitalized his career. It made him look like an average quarterback at Miami to an actually fairly good quarterback for a few years. But then once AJ Brown left and like everything, like Arthur Smith left,
it was
he looked
different
like
after
Ryan Tannehill again.
It was different after AJ Brown left for sure,
Mhm.
and Arthur Smith's impact, which is why he was linked to Pittsburgh in the first place. That was a huge impact. But I think that for Ryan Tannehill, like Pittsburgh is his best option. We talk about Russell meeting with Pittsburgh. I think that what you're saying to Kenny Pickett, if Russell Wilson goes there, is Russell Wilson's going to be the guy until Russell Wilson don't want to play anymore. Ryan Tannehill goes there. I think you're saying like, hey, here's a guy who is kind of similar to how you play. You watch him, and then maybe even just 1 year to a year and a half, you're back in the saddle. I think that Ryan Tannehill has. Is Ryan Tannehill win now money? No, sir. That's not the case. If you want to change your program, you're not signing Ryan Tannehill. Could he?
Go ahead.
Could he be beneficial for a younger quarterback like a Kenny Pickett or somebody like that? Certainly he could, especially if in an Arthur Smith offense where he would be simultaneously teaching.
See, not completely, but I disagree. It's like if you bring in Russell Wilson, I agree with that. It's like that's the guy, learn underneath him. If you bring in Tannehill with Kenny Pickett at this point in time, it's like this is just a dude to compete with. Like
which is what
could win the starting job.
But
like,
yeah,
Tannehill might be your second.
And Tannehill may be the second, but they had mentioned bringing in a veteran presence to specifically compete with Kenny and push Kenny. So yeah, he could be the second, but like who better to teach Kenny, whether it be in front of him or behind him, especially in an Arthur Smith offense, than Ryan Tannehill. Whereas Russell Wilson didn't come in here to teach Kenny Pickett. Russell Wilson is coming here to be the starter of the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's not pushing Kenny. He's coming to like if you bring Russell Wilson into any quarterback position or quarterback room, he's coming to be the starter. Versus Tannehill, that would be the level of veteran that they had mentioned before, which again they had backed off of. I just did my hand down at your picture on the screen, like hey, they backed off of it. You could anyway. They backed off of wanting to bring in a veteran, but that had been what they initially said was they wanted to bring somebody in to compete with Kenny. And Ryan Tannehill would be the guy that could push him and then also mentor him. Whereas if you bring in somebody like Russell, he's the starter.
Yeah, he's probably the dude. Maybe even at the vet minimum because Denver's going to be paying him.
Dude, I think that is the thing that is being undersung right now. Like that guy is a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback, and he is willing to play for nothing. Like, why? I mean, the media is not even blowing that up enough. Like, why are no more? I mean, if you're San Francisco, you put a call in, not to replace Brock, but it's like, hey, I mean, do you want to come be on the roster for nothing? Like,
yeah, 31 other teams should probably call him.
Do what?
31 other teams should probably call him.
Yeah, everybody
$1.15 million
for that
and
guy.
Then the other team, first off, not only are you getting a borderline Hall of Fame quarterback, but that also once again why the news release, the Waltons have a lot to learn, or like whoever owns the team there. I just know that they're tied to the Waltons. You don't release that you're cutting of somebody and then it's like, oh, he's willing, like we're allowing him to seek trades. Like, fuck that.
I'm not trading shit. I'm not trading shit.
I don't want to pay him $40 million the next 2 years.
He has said
I'll trade you a
playing
6th
for
round
nothing.
pick.
Well, even for that roster,
because then you pick up his contract.
Yeah,
that's
he's
true.
already said I will play for nothing, and they're like, you can seek a trade. Teams are like,
No. I'll wait until you hit free. I have to outbid. First off, it starts at like 1.15 million, I think is the vet minimum. And then work up from there. It's like, so my bid at 5 million might beat out the $40 million otherwise that I would eat. This
Yeah.
is stupid. That was
Yeah.
such a stupid release. But no, I agree with you, man. Like, yeah, like if Russ goes there, then he's the dude, and if Tannehill goes there, then it's just more competition. I would like Tannehill to go to the Steelers. I like Tannehill, and I like the Steelers. Now the next guy on the list,
I
if
don't
I
know
was
how if
New
you're.
England,
Well, I don't know
that's.
if you're Indianapolis. I don't know how you don't bring him back.
Yeah.
I mean, I would do everything in my power if I was Indianapolis, 100%. But if I was New England, like that is about as stopgap as it gets.
It's
Like,
as stopgap as it gets. But so for him, we'll go for him and for New England. Okay. Does anybody truly envision Gardner Minshew as like a true starting quarterback? Like Gardner Minshew had some really good games and has had some really good moments, and he's a really like I would want him as my backup. I think that he may be the top backup in the league, but
took him to the
he
playoffs, or
took
almost.
played well enough to keep them in contention. I think that he is like he's 27 to 36 type of range of quarterback in the league. Like he's not necessarily the guy that's going to get you where you want to be, but he's also not going to be the reason that you're not where you want to be.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a Baker Mayfield light. We've used that term a few times tonight about being light, but like he's the type of guy that he can get you basically there, just not as far as Baker can. And I don't think that Baker will be somebody that can get you all the way there. But for him, okay, so does anybody truly value him as like a true number one starter? Yes, stopgap in New England, but like, do you think that Gardner Minshew is going to be any more successful than either of the Toblerones that you had throwing the ball in New England this year, right? Like, probably not. And so, do you really want to pursue him versus now? I would pursue him and sign him if he was interested in doing the same thing that he just did for Anthony Richardson. If I'm going to draft Jaden Daniels, you draft Jaden Daniels, you sign Gardner Minshew. He plays a similar role to Anthony Richardson, or to Jaden Daniels that he did for Anthony Richardson. Very similar situation where runners and could be hurt and such. But if you're Gardner, you're comfortable in Indy. You is New England going to fork over more money than Indy would to keep you? I don't know, maybe, but just you're in a good spot. There's a good chance. That there's a good chance. The kid that they just drafted to be the guy played 3 games and was hurt the whole time. Like, that there's a good chance you're playing here again next year. I don't know. I think that if I'm Indy, I'm doing my damnedest to keep Gardner Minshew.
Well, if I'm Indy and if I'm Gardner, like make the money right and stick around.
Yeah, best job in the league is the backup quarterback.
Like this blurb says right here, like everybody sees him as one of the best backup quarterbacks in the leagues. I would love to have him as a backup quarterback in LA, but that's what I would love him to be. And I think that that's the thing. I would love him to be a backup quarterback. I don't want Gardner Minshew leading my team. I mean, and no disrespect to Gardner Minshew, he's in hell. If he had all of the talent around him, maybe he could do that. Maybe he just needs that opportunity. I don't know. I just don't want my team to be that experiment. And obviously, New England would not be that experiment because they have so many problems to fix.
When Shanahan first got to San Francisco, they signed Brian Hoyer, and Shanahan had said, "This is the worst, maybe the worst roster I've ever seen in the league." And they signed Brian Hoyer to be that year's quarterback. If you had told me Gardner Minshew was going to be that signing, like if that's the level of starting quarterback I'm getting, I would go, cool. we need this to get us to here. Gardner Minshew is a great situation because I didn't hate the Brian Hoyer situation, but I would love Gardner Minshew more. That's the level of starter that I would want. So like New England could fit that, sure, but
kind of what they've been doing,
right? I mean that's the thing, and so it really just goes. You're not going to pay him, or are you going to pay him enough to make it worth his while to get out of Indianapolis, where he knows he's comfortable in the system? I mean, he damn near got him to a playoff, and there's a good chance that Richardson doesn't stay on the field again next year. Also, I'm not pulling against that kid, but I mean, just early
5 games
results,
and 4 injuries.
Yeah, it doesn't look great. Like didn't work out the first year.
Well, and like I wouldn't be blown away or shocked or surprised, but I think what's going to happen is, like you're talking about, Santana, that Minshew and Indianapolis, they make the numbers right, and he realizes like he's not going to go. That's the only thing. Like if somebody like the Patriots or somebody who's like, you'll be the starter, that's the only thing that I think personally will pull him out of Indianapolis. I don't think he's going to sign with another team to be a backup, but I also think that he understands that being the backup in Indianapolis is pretty fucking awesome.
Unless like 100% contender came a calling, like if Kansas City was like, hey, do you want to come back up Mahomes? There's a good chance you'll probably get a Super Bowl ring out of that. Maybe that would be something that would lure him away. But I would think that playing would be what drives most of these guys, and his best option is either starting for a really bad team or backing up a guy who you will probably see snaps regardless of what goes on in the season.
Agreed.
Yep. All right, guys. We've been going for a little over 2 hours. I think this is a good place to kind of cut it off.
Yeah, I'm out of beverage.
Do we need to tell our viewers that this is supposed to be like an hour show initially?
That's what we thought about, but our viewer.
Yeah, our viewer.
There were one fan doesn't seem to mind.
That's for the fan to decide.
Yay!
If we start doing polls, we should call it "That's for the fan to decide." We'll also just text that person and be like, "Hey, what do you think?"
Oh man.
Yeah. All right, boys.
As I say, Elbiana says hi.
Hey. I was talking about you.
Also, a huge congrats to Albiona and Norman. And no link there.
Yeah. There's no link whatsoever.
Yeah. Oh, damn it.
Totally unrelated thing.
I forgot I had to navigate our fan.
Elbiona says thank you.
Yeah, I'm excited for y'all. It sounds like a great gig.
Oh, let's get off air first.
I was waiting on that. That was my plan, and then you started.
I know. No, I fucked it up. That's not you. That's on me.
Well, all right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and if you watch the replay, thank you for watching it. If you haven't already, hit that thumbs up. Also, make sure to hit that subscribe button if you haven't hit it as well. Hit that bell so anytime we stream, you will get a notification when we do. And yeah, we will see y'all next week for another episode. Y'all have a good one.